You know how in any big rivalry, there's always that one move everyone thinks is gonna like flip the whole script.
Yeah, that game-changing play or that knockout punch that shifts the whole momentum.
Exactly. And we've been watching this whole back and forth between Drake and Kendrick and
It really did feel like Drake's Nokia video was supposed to be that big moment, right?
yeah, like his big comeback to take back control. But what if it didn't work out that way?
Right. What if instead of like reclaiming the narrative, it actually just like highlighted where things really stand right now in this whole rivalry?
That's exactly what we're diving into today.
Yeah, Drake definitely seemed to be aiming for a big shift with this one.
Yeah.
Trying to grab back some of the attention.
Yeah, a lot of people felt like Kendrick had been kind of dominating the conversation for a while.
And there was definitely that expectation from some fans, at least, that Nokia was going to be Drake's big win.
Yeah, his mic drop moment. But the initial reaction, well, it's been pretty interesting to say the least.
And by interesting, you mean a lot of people are straight up calling it one of his worst moves yet.
Yeah, some pretty harsh criticism coming out, and a lot of it seems to center around this idea of imitation.
Exactly. Like, instead of coming back with something fresh and original Nokia, just feels like it's copying Kendrick and Dave Free's style.
Like a lot of people are pointing to the Not Like Us video as a direct comparison.
Right. And there are even moments that feel like they're straight out of Kendrick's Super Bowl performance.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about what originality even means in a rap beef like this.
So let's break it down a little. What specifically in Nokia is making people say copycat?
So one big example is the way Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA,
Yeah.
is featured in the video. It feels like a very deliberate parallel to DeMar DeRozan in Not Like Us.
Interesting. Both Canadian basketball stars, but
Yeah, but it feels kind of forced,
yeah.
like just trying to match Kendrick move for move instead of coming up with something new.
And in hip-hop, especially being original is like the whole point, right?
Totally. Like you're supposed to be pushing things forward, coming up with your own style and flow.
Not just borrowing from what your rival is already doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So by seemingly copying Kendrick, it undercuts Drake's creative edge in this whole exchange.
It's almost like he was trying to make a point by using Kendrick's own playbook, but it ended up looking more like a cheap imitation than a clever comeback.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just SGA. There are whole choreographed scenes that mirror what Kendrick has done before.
Oh, really? Like, how so?
Like, people are comparing some of the dance sequences to parts of Kendrick's Super Bowl halftime show. Even the staging feels similar.
I see. So it goes beyond just individual images or cameos. It's like whole sections of the video are echoing Kendrick's style.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, what was the point? Was it supposed to be like a subtle nod or a straight-up diss?
But either way, it seems like it kind of backfired. Like, by mirroring Kendrick so closely, it takes away from any real artistic dialogue.
Yeah, it becomes more about replication than originality,
And then there's the whole thing with the owl imagery.
Ah, yes, the owl. A
Yeah.
big symbol for Drake and his OVO brand.
Yeah, and some fans were definitely interpreting it as a direct response to some of Kendrick's visuals.
Yeah, like a symbolic comeback.
Yeah.
But the problem is the owl just kind of appears in Nokia without any real context or buildup.
It's like it's supposed to mean something, but it's not really woven into the narrative of the video.
Right. So while Drake's fans might see it as a powerful counter symbol to whatever Kendrick's doing,
The broader takeaway is that it just feels kind of random and out of place.
and it doesn't carry the same weight or significance. So again, it goes back to this question of originality.
Yeah, so in the end, all this alleged copying, it doesn't really come across as a strong artistic statement or a clever diss.
Right. It just makes it seem like Drake's running out of ideas and has to resort to using Kendrick's playbook.
And that brings us to another interesting layer to all this, the idea that Drake was using Nokia to show that Kendrick's disses have actually hurt his career.
Yeah, like the video itself is supposed to be proof that Kendrick's words have had a real impact.
It's like using art to complain about art, which is a bit of a head scratcher, right?
It's really interesting, isn't it? Like you're using a creative work to say, look how much this other creative work has damaged me.
It's a strange loop. If you're trying to argue that your career's been hurt, wouldn't the best response be to come back even stronger with your own stuff?
Exactly. It's like trying to prove you're weak by flexing. But the flex just isn't that impressive.
Or like saying, look how much money I've lost, while showing off a
Right.
slightly smaller stack of bills.
And overall, it just doesn't feel like Drake's taking this whole thing seriously enough. Like, some people are seeing it as more of a joke than a real comeback attempt.
Yeah, it lacks that real sense of urgency or fire you'd expect in a rap beef.
And that lack of seriousness kind of ties into this whole debate about attention.
Right. We've heard it said mostly by Drake's fans that Kendrick's only doing all this to get attention.
Which you could argue is part of the game, right? Like any public rivalry is going to involve some level of attention seeking.
Sure, but the counter-argument now is that Nokia actually shows Drake to be the one who's way more obsessed with attention.
It's like he's one who's desperate for the spotlight.
Exactly. By so blatantly copying Kendrick's style and making the whole video about their beef, it makes it seem like Drake's the one who's really caught up in the drama.
It's like he's taken his eye off the ball and is only focused on this one thing. And some people are saying it's a missed opportunity. Like Nokia could have been a chance for Drake to move beyond the whole Kendrick thing.
Yeah, to show that he's grown as an artist and is exploring new themes and sounds.
But instead, by sticking so close to Kendrick's aesthetic, he's just digging himself deeper into this rivalry.
It's less about Drake's artistic evolution and more about his reaction to Kendrick.
Exactly. He's letting Kendrick define his artistic choices instead of forging his own path.
But even with all the criticism about originality and artistic intent, there's this idea going around that Nokia is becoming like an anthem for the losers of rap.
That's a really interesting take. Like, even if the video and the song aren't critically acclaimed,
it's finding an audience with a certain segment of the fan base.
Yeah, and Drake and his crew are definitely leaning into that narrative.
It's like they're creating a sense of shared grievance among his fans.
Like rallying the troops who feel overlooked or underestimated.
Yeah, like they're banding together under this banner of, we're the underdogs, we're the ones who get ignored.
And it might actually be working. Like, regardless of what the critics say, there's this feeling that Drake's fans are going to push Nokia to the top of the charts.
Just out of sheer loyalty and maybe a bit of defiance.
Exactly. It's about mobilizing the fan base to drown out the negative voices and make the song a hit no matter what.
So it's less about critical acclaim and more about pure fan power.
Right. It's a different kind of strategy, but it might be effective in its own way.
And then we have this whole other element that's been thrown into the mix, the interview with AK and Ye.
You mean Kanye West?
Yeah. And that interview has definitely added a whole new layer of complexity to this rivalry.
Absolutely. It seems like a deliberate attempt to shake the narrative in a way that benefits Drake and throws shade at Kendrick.
Like they're trying to control the story being told.
Exactly. And they're using this platform to push their own version of events.
So what were some of the key things Ye was saying in that interview?
Well, a lot of it was pretty provocative. He basically called Kendrick an industry puppet, implying that he's been propped up by the labels to take down Drake.
Wow. And he even admitted to being jealous of Kendrick.
Yeah, he basically said he felt overshadowed by Kendrick's success and felt like he wasn't getting the same level of recognition.
It's interesting how jealousy can fuel these kinds of rivalries and narratives.
Absolutely. And it often comes from a place of feeling threatened or insecure.
And Ye didn't hold back on praising Drake either, right?
Nope. He went as far as saying that Drake is 1,000,000 times better than Kendrick and that he's more important to the industry.
That's a pretty bold statement. And he also talked about how close he is to Drake, calling him family.
Yeah, he was really emphasizing their shared experiences and struggles in the music industry, like they're both battling against the same forces.
And then there was that comment about Kendrick's Super Bowl performance.
Yeah, he questioned why someone with no hits would be given such a big stage.
Which is kind of a weird thing to say, considering Kendrick's had a ton of hits and critical success.
It felt like he was trying to downplay Kendrick's accomplishments and make it seem like he didn't deserve that level of exposure.
So it seems like the overall narrative they're pushing is that Ye and Drake are the real victims in all of this.
Yeah, like they're the underdogs fighting against a rigged system.
And AK is providing the platform for them to air their grievances and get their message out.
He's become like the spokesperson for this whole Drake is being wrong narrative.
And Ye even warned people about being on the wrong side of the matrix if they don't buy into this whole story.
Yeah, it's like he's drawing a line in the sand saying you're either with us or against us.
So it's getting pretty intense. What do you think the impact of all this is going to be?
Well, it's definitely fueling the conspiracy theories that already exist in the hip-hop world. Like, some people are really buying into this idea that there's this big system working against Drake.
And they're seeing Ye as this truth teller who's finally exposing the whole thing.
Exactly. And it's giving them even more reason to be suspicious of anyone who criticizes Drake or supports Kendrick.
But it's also being seen as a sign of desperation from Drake's camp. Like they're relying on Ye, who has his own controversies and baggage.
Yeah, it's like they're clutching at straws, trying to find someone with enough clout to back up their claims.
And it seems like we're going to be hearing these same talking points from Ye repeated over and over again.
Oh yeah, it's going to be used to try and discredit Kendrick and paint Drake as this martyr who's being targeted by the industry.
So it's almost like they're trying to hijack the narrative and rewrite history in a way that benefits Drake.
Exactly. It's all part of this bigger strategy to change how people perceive this rivalry and Drake's place in the industry.
Even if it means resorting to conspiracy theories and playing the victim card?
It seems that way.
Yeah.
And it's a little concerning because it's taking the focus away from the music itself and turning this whole thing into a messy public drama.
And it makes you wonder, is any of this genuine, or is it all just a calculated PR move?
That's the big question, isn't it? Are they really feeling these things, or are they just playing a role to try and manipulate public opinion?
It's hard to say for sure, but it definitely makes you think about the lengths people will go to protect their image and their legacy in the music industry.
Absolutely. And it highlights how much power narratives and perception have in shaping how we view artists and their work.
So to recap, it seems like Drake's Nokia strategy hasn't really worked out the way he probably intended.
Yeah, instead of being a triumphant comeback, it's been seen as a misstep that's actually fueled more criticism and questions about his originality.
And it's led to this whole other mess with Ye and AK trying to push these alternative narratives about industry conspiracies and victimhood.
It's like they're trying to win the battle in the court of public opinion rather than through the music itself.
And this whole situation raises some really interesting questions, like, what does this say about the nature of competition in the music industry today?
Right. Is it all about the music anymore? Or is it more about who can control the narrative and spin the story in their favor?
And what about artistic legacy? Can you really build a lasting legacy if you're relying on these kinds of tactics to prop yourself up?
And what about the fans? Are they being manipulated, or are they actively participating in shaping these narratives?
It's a complicated web, and it really makes you think about the power of perception and how easily it can be influenced.
It's a lot to unpack, and it definitely makes you think about where things are headed in hip-hop and the music industry as a whole.
It really does. This whole Drake and Kendrick saga is far from over, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
I'm definitely staying tuned.
Yeah,
And I'm sure there are going to be even more twists and turns along the way.
for sure. And we'll be here to break it all down for you.
Absolutely. So until next time, keep your ears open and your minds sharp.
And don't believe everything you hear.
That's the key.
Peace out.